Iron Will is a Disney film from 1994. This is directed by Charles Hayde. It's written by John Michael Hayes, Djordje Milicevic, and Jeff Arch. And I apologise if I've mispronounced any of those names. This stars Mackenzie Astin as Will. And Will is competing in a cross-country marathon. And that in itself doesn't sound, for me, like the most interesting narrative, but there's a really strong emotional aspect. And I don't want to give away too much about this. It is something that happens quite early on in the beginning, but I didn't see it coming, so I don't want to give it away, even though it's very early on. And Will is competing in this race, and it's all about the leading up to it, and then the race itself. And it's a very well-written narrative. I feel like there's a lot of substance to it. It's definitely very emotional. The narrative itself didn't necessarily appeal to me as a concept, and yet I found most of it to be really engaging. There were times when maybe it was a little slower. I think there are scenes that we didn't need. The whole film is, I think, just shy of 2 hours, so it's not tremendously long, but I definitely think that we could have tightened things up a bit, quickened the pace in a few places, and it would have been a little bit more engaging throughout. But we do have a really likeable protagonist. I think Will is definitely very easy to get behind from the very beginning. The dogs are adorable. They are absolutely gorgeous. And we get to see quite a lot of them as well. It's not one of those films where they're just in it a little bit. They are actually quite prominent, and they're so beautiful. And I absolutely loved watching them. The performances are really good. Mackenzie Astin does a really good job of our protagonist. We also have Kevin Spacey, David Ogden Stiers, and Brian Cox. Really, really brilliant cast, really strong performances. I quite like the costumes as well. I thought the costumes were quite striking a lot of the time. This is set in, I think, 1917, if I remember correctly. We are told at the beginning when it's set, and I don't know exactly how accurate it is to the time period based on costumes and things, but it definitely visually looks really good. So I don't have any complaints about this at all. I think we have some great camera work. We have some really beautiful snowy locations as well. And according to IMDb, this was filmed in Minnesota, quite a few different locations in Minnesota, and it's stunning to look at. The narrative may not be the most compelling for me personally, but there was plenty there to keep me engaged. Would I watch it again? Probably not, but I do recommend it. For me, as a one-time watch, very good. If it sounds like your kind of film, I think you'll really enjoy it. If you're just looking for something that's a little bit different, with some great performances, a really likeable protagonist, and gorgeous dogs, and a really strong emotional aspect too, then Iron Will is one that's worth watching. I wasn't sure if I'd enjoy it or not, but one of the really great things about trying to watch every Disney feature film is that it opens me up to films I otherwise would never give the time of day. This is one such film, and as I said, I may not ever watch it again, but as a one-time watch, I thought Iron Will was a pretty strong film.